Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar entitled Value-Driven Prioritization of Processes and Projects. I'm Candace Collins with Signavio, and I'll be your moderator today. Shawnee Archer is a dynamic self-starter with an innovative and pragmatic approach to problem solving. As a BPMD senior consultant, she has led numerous transformations and process improvement initiatives for multiple clients across technology, financial, and health industries. These clients were able to achieve operational efficiency, reduce cost, and increase revenue through process innovation, optimization, and standardization. So a couple of logistics I'd like to share with you. You'll see a question box on the right side of your screen. You can enter questions there as we go. We'll answer as many questions as time permits at the close of our formal session, and we'll get back with you after the session should we run out of time to answer all of your questions. You'll receive a recording of this webinar within a few days. And once you end your session, you'll receive a short survey, and we'd very much appreciate you taking a few minutes to complete this, as your feedback helps us to continually improve our webcast for you. I'll now pass this over to our speaker. Shawnee, the floor is now yours.
Thanks, Candace. Hello and welcome, everyone. Glad you can join us. Let's briefly talk about our agenda today. Using a real client example, I will take you on a journey that details how we partnered with a biotech client to effectively target value by operationalizing the business strategy. I will detail how through this engagement, we completed a process evaluation and analysis to identify processes most important for realizing the strategy. Then discuss how we help them define priorities for improvement projects. And lastly, how we help them improve their processes in the right context. A recent Gartner study highlights that 87% of businesses miss their strategic goals. That means that only about 13% of companies successfully execute their strategy. These numbers are startling to say the least, so let's dig in a bit deeper. Extensive research has also proven that an organization competes through less than 20% of its business processes that have a high impact on strategic value drivers. BPMD's value-driven prioritization approach is designed to help you set the right priorities so that you can achieve your strategic objectives. It delivers the end-to-end operational analytics companies need to identify in which areas to launch new initiatives, where to refocus or stop ongoing process improvement projects to achieve their goals, and provides a blueprint to improve in the right context and creates the foundation to sustain the results. So, how do we target value? For our biotech clients, we started with their strategy, broke the strategy down into business priorities, goals, and value drivers to create what you see on screen, the value tree. The value tree aims to break down larger organizational goals into more realistic, achievable steps. The value drivers are given weights, as you can see here, to reflect its importance to achieving the strategy. The strategy is easily visualized and identifies what the organization needs to get right to make the strategy happen. Now that we have decomposed our strategy into value drivers, we now look across our organization to see how our processes deliver on our value drivers. What you see on screen is an example of the client's operating model. The operating model is a quick overview of the entire organization. It also serves as an entrance point into their Signavio process repository. This visual shows the level 1 and level 2 processes. This overall structured look of the organization helps us understand the company's functions from an end-to-end perspective and is also a helpful communication tool. In this section, we will discuss how both the value drivers and the operating model create the basis for prioritization and how they help identify the most important areas to target. To set the right priorities and focus, we evaluate each of the level 3 process. Let me start that again, I'm sorry. To set the right priorities and focus, we evaluate each of the level 3 processes' impact on the value drivers. In the previous slide, you saw the operating model with the level 1 and level 2 processes. These processes are the decomposed level 3. We take the level 3 processes and the value drivers previously defined to determine whether the process has an impact on the value drivers. As indicated by the colors, low impact is highlighted in yellow, medium impact is highlighted in orange, high impact is shown in red, and no impact is indicated through the gray. We then assess the process maturity to evaluate what is the current maturity of the process and what is the targeted maturity. The difference of the current and targeted maturity levels is the process maturity gap. So we see here the as-is maturity, the to-be, and our gap for our level 3 processes. So let's bring it all together in the process impact assessment. Our value drivers, level 3 processes, and the process maturity helps us identify the high impact, low maturity processes. As we recall, high impact, low maturity processes are most important for strategy realization. Again, our level 3 processes, we see our value drivers here, and we also see the impact rating, high, medium, low, or no impact. We get a tally of the impact and the color scheme also high, medium, and low. We also see here the as-is maturity, the to-be maturity, and we also get a nice number that highlights the process, the maturity gap. By taking our clients through this exercise, they were able to identify their high impact, low maturity process areas. As you can see on screen, there are 4 areas identified in red: realization, product sustainability, processing, and annual donor plan. These are the best targets for process improvement and other interventions. And the blue line under each process visualize the current maturity. Depicting these in the operating model help the clients quickly understand that their realization process is a high impact process area with very low maturity, as we can see from the line, the red color, and the line where the maturity line ends. This is an area they need to get right in order to achieve their strategic goals. Hope you're still with me and this is all making sense. Let's turn now to defining priorities and appropriate improvement projects. We now need to determine whether their projects and programs have the right focus. We use value packages to capture projects and initiatives. The projects and initiatives are also evaluated for their impact on the level 3 processes. This creates the basis to prioritize projects and other improvement initiatives. By enabling the prioritization of initiatives, it was easy to identify which projects or initiatives they could defer if necessary. By analyzing our value packages, we see the distribution of our projects as indicated by the number in the gray box. We see that there are currently 4 projects covering our ideation process area, 3 in the launch area, and only 2 for our realization process area. Again, the high impact processes are indicated in red. We see that our high impact processes have a fair number of projects, but there are lots happening. It may make sense to defer some of the running projects, shift resources, or focus on our quick wins. So we figured out the processes with the highest impact on our strategy and where to target value. So let's now discuss how we improve those processes in the right context. Using simple process models, we document the as-is process in their Signavio process repository. Through process analysis, we identified their quick wins, developed future state processes to help them transform their business. Rapid process improvement helps to streamline the identification of various improvement actions, such as shifting resources, system integration, and automation possibilities. Documentation and analysis of the as-is process prevented the organization from falling into common pitfalls of building efficiency silos with adverse impacts upstream and downstream. It enabled greater organizational transparency to ensure that the root causes of issues are addressed to deliver real change. By helping them understand where they were today and the impacts of the improvement to the process gave them full transparency and ownership. We leverage technologies such as process simulation to run various scenarios of the improved processes, and process mining to enable process discovery, data analysis, and create visibility of the end-to-end process performance. They were able to use data to effectively address cycle time and scalability. Our biotech clients achieved a value-driven prioritization of processes and projects through the combined use of the Signavio platform and the BPMD application. We decompose the organization strategy into actionable value drivers, capture the end-to-end process framework in the operating model. We enrich the end-to-end process framework and sub-processes with process data such as pain points and improvement ideas so that the processes could be improved in the right context. So, our takeaways. To prioritize our processes and projects, we must first target value, break down our large strategy into actionable value drivers, give them weights so that we can figure out which are most critical. Second, we evaluate our processes to determine its impact and maturity level. Third, we use value packages to capture our projects and initiatives. Remember, those are also evaluated against our processes so that we can effectively prioritize. Fourth, once we have the right priority and focus, we can move full steam ahead to improve our processes, leveraging the appropriate methods and tools like Signavio. To conclude, if you enjoyed what you heard today, I invite you to visit us at BPMD.com to review some of our additional case studies, publications, and white papers. Our most recent white paper, Value-Driven Process and Project Prioritization for Digital Transformation, covers the topic I discussed today in greater detail. I invite you to check it out. Candace, back to you.
Thank you so much, Shani. Thanks for sharing with us the ways in which people can find their value drivers within their processes and projects, as the title of this webinar says, and to be able to find the best targets for their process improvement initiatives. And you clearly showed how Signavio and BPMD work closely together in a very, very concise way, so I appreciate that. As I mentioned, you can put in questions if you'd like in the question box. We do have a handful, so why don't we begin? Here's the first one, Shawnee. We're focusing on digital transformation on our organization. Do we still need tools like process repositories?
Yes, definitely. One of my other fun research facts from the Gardner Group highlights that about 1% of businesses do not have processes in place to fully and quickly realize the value from their digital transformation. The design and implementation of processes supported through an easy to use process repository tool allows fast and structured process design that can be transferred seamlessly into a digital execution platform. So I
Sure.
think,
So
yes, definitely.
yeah, makes sense. Absolutely. Okay, here's another one. Why do we need to prioritize processes and projects to get a strategy executed?
Great question. A process prioritization enables organizations to ensure that the projects and initiatives they invest into are aligned with the organization's goals. We don't want the organization to waste money, and we want to make sure that the strategy is achieved. And as the fact that I stated earlier from the Gardner Group, 87% of businesses miss their strategic goals. So the prioritization of processes and projects helps to align the improvement initiatives to the business strategy, and that is the key component for achieving the business strategy.
Got it. Okay. Here's an interesting one. How did you measure the lead time of a process and a process time of each task in that process?
For for this particular biotech company, they were very manual. So a part of it, when I guess through the phases of it, let's start there. It was self-reported. For the manual ones, it was self-reported. For the processes that were more I guess, technology enabled, it was easier to use process mining to get that cycle time information. So for the manual process, that no technology helps or enables the process, we had to get a survey for the for what they were doing. So it was definitely self-reported, but it was easier for the steps in the process where technology enabled it. We were able to utilize process mining to expose that data and capture that information.
Yeah, great. It makes so much sense to, I think, the ones that you showed, the to be and as is, when you're doing the mining there, you can see very clearly the time things take, but also if people are going around a process or through a process or skipping steps, it's an important part of this. That's great. One person asks, so the tools you hinted at seem to be flexible enough for many diverse scenarios, but if a distinction can be made between enterprise processes and enterprise capabilities, which point of view would you profit? Let's see, which point of view one would profit most out of these tools? So enterprise capabilities or enterprise processes?
Both are relevant.
Okay. Okay.
And the tools do enable us to just capture and evaluate on both, because we do need both of those in order to effectively execute our strategy.
Okay, got it. Okay, a couple more. Isn't the use of existing modeling methods too complex for most of the people in an organization?
I would say no. Modeling methods, they can be considered languages similar to English, Spanish, German, or emoji. I have a 15-year-old sister, and emoji is apparently a language. I don't know that language, but let me continue. once we understand the structure of the language, how things fit together, how we describe things, what symbols we use, we can better, we become experts in understanding that language, or modeling method. So essentially, it's a language, and we have to understand how the language works. Once we understand how the language works, we'll be able to use it effectively. Does
Sure,
that
and I
make
think
sense?
yeah, it does absolutely, Shawnee. And I think one of the beauties of using Signavio for sure in the modeling tools and BPMD to help you through as well on all kinds of training that you offer. It's we're told that it can take a day or two of training to get everybody up and running and really comfortable with um, how to use it, and then they're being heard. If they can comment on these models,
Hmm.
and
Yep,
have other people hear their views. I think that's always a good thing. Good
yep,
stuff.
yep. And Signavio is the collaboration hub. At our biotech clients, they really enjoyed using the collaboration hub feature to get the feedback and uh, I guess inputs on their processes. So that is a really nice feature.
Yep, got it. Um, Morna is coming back to us with a second question. I think this is really applicable right now. How can you ensure that a process documentation repository is maintained after the heat of the initiative? Is there any way of making these tools something you can't do without?
Yes, the governance is a critical part of maintaining um, our process repository and making sure that the things that we put in place are following, I guess, the standards that we created. I did not cover this in this particular presentation, but I would say that the definition and implementation of a simple but reliable governance structure um, is a most important aspect for sustaining the achieved benefits and enabling lasting process performance. And that way we can, this organization, the biotech organization, what they did with their process mining tool, they used it as kind of, I would say, an auditing um, auditing tool to make sure that to identify, I guess, if there were deviations from the to be processes, and quickly we're able to address those to make sure that we are, I guess, conforming to the future state process that was defined.
Right, that it makes so much sense. And process mining isn't just a one and done. I mean, I think it makes so much sense to, you can either start there and then
Mhm.
see where things are going and then do the modeling, or
Yep.
you're already down the road on modeling, you can do the process mining and see how things are working and then make some tweaks as you see that are needed. And then you could run that again and see, okay, we're getting closer, and it could also show you it's being done this way because that happens to be the smarter way, and we just didn't capture that in the models initially. So, and then again, people are being heard and listened to, and it does become a tool that no one can do without because it's showing you facts versus rumors or assumptions.
Agreed.
All right, we have one more question. I think we have time for this. How does this approach help an organization remain competitive in a dynamic business environment?
That's a really, really good question. This approach helps organization remain competitive in, because it's a dynamic business environment, because it links directly to the organization strategy. As the business environment change, whether internal or external, the foundations are already in place for the organization to quickly identify which processes and projects are impacted, and it enables them to respond swiftly to the changing market demands. So for our biotech company, they went through the exercise, that everything that I showed you, with their value drivers. They broke down, as we saw, they broke down their strategy into actionable value drivers. In the tool, you can actually just turn on and turn off the value drivers, change the weights, and you can see where your high impact process areas are. And that way you can still follow the steps and figure out the high impact processes, because everything is connected, so that you can improve your processes the right way, stop initiatives. So it's pretty much a holistic, nicely connected tool. So once you have the foundation in place, things change, which things always change. You can adjust it and you can visualize the results on, where to act.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you, Shawnee. So thanks all for joining us today. I hope that this was very helpful to you. As we go to our last slide, you'll see it, just a quick reminder, if you could just take the very short survey as you exit. We'd love to hear your input. And as I mentioned, you will get a link to the recording within a couple of days, and we'll follow up with you separately if you have any further questions. We very much appreciate your time today. Thanks so much, Shawnee.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Candace.